Another temporary restraining order issued in a challenge against Illinois' gun and magazine ban and gun registry. Good morning, I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk. You can always follow along. Just find me anywhere, Bishop on Air, Twitter, Facebook, streaming live on YouTube. And segments as well. You can see this at WMAY News on Facebook and elsewhere. And we like to review, of course, what's going on in the latest with the state's gun and magazine ban, because it's been nearly a month now that it's been in place since January 10th when Governor J.B. Pritzker signed that measure into law, essentially showing that Illinois gun owners are going to have to register their firearms if they have certain weapons that are deemed by the state legislature to be assault weapons and thereby banned. So October 1st is that deadline for when the window opens for that registration. It seems to be a crucial deadline as we watch these court cases play out in state and federal court. But of course, with the law in effect, there's a lot of FOID card holders in the state of Illinois that are prohibited from being able to purchase certain weapons and magazines. So you've got a slew of cases in state court, you've got a slew of cases in federal court, and these are just the cases that are impacting the state's gun and magazine ban. That's not even to mention the lawsuits that are out there challenging the state's firearm owner identification card, which we do have at least one case that's pending. We've already seen a different case go all the way up to the Supreme Court and then kick back down in Illinois, not the U.S. Supreme Court, the Illinois Supreme Court. But that's a totally different set of lawsuits. And then you've got across the country all the lawsuits that are happening. But here in Illinois, the state level cases seem to be getting the most play and have the most actions that have happened thus far. While a lot of stuff's happening with the federal cases, it's the state level cases. And yesterday, a Macon County judge issuing a temporary restraining order against the state from enforcing the state's gun ban and magazine ban on around 2,100 different individuals in Macon County. So, of course, we were in that county court hearing on Friday in Decatur, where a judge heard arguments from the plaintiffs, including State Representative Dan Calkins. And the judge also heard from the state with Darren Kincaid as the attorney representing the state, the Pritzker administration, the attorney general, the various other players involved in passing this legislation that was enacted January 10th. But yesterday, the judge, after having some preliminary suggested orders that he was reviewing, the plaintiffs provided their suggestion that a temporary restraining order be granted. And apparently the defense did not push back against that because the Macon County Court is to follow the guidance from the appellate court, because the appellate court in the 5th District of Illinois upheld the Effingham County temporary restraining order that was issued January 20th, about 10 days after the bill was enacted. All right. So you can see how just in this month's time, and it's only been a little less than a month since the gun ban was enacted, you've seen state level cases get to the point where temporary restraining orders have been issued and one's being upheld, causing other counties to issue temporary restraining orders. So now we've got 3 temporary restraining orders. These are not statewide orders. Now, it's one thing the Macon County judge could have done, but they chose not to. I don't know if they have the authority or not. The state's defendant said the judge doesn't have that authority to issue a statewide order, but we do have a 3rd temporary restraining order being issued to keep the state from enforcing the gun ban against 2,100 people in Macon County. That adds on top of White County's 1,690 plaintiffs. That adds on top of the 866 plaintiffs out of the Effingham County case. And again, these are just state level cases. So let's hear now from the lead plaintiff in this case against the state in Decatur. It's State Representative Dan Calkins. He chatted with me briefly at the Capitol on Wednesday when they were in session. He walks by. I said, "Hey, you got any update on your on your legal challenge that was heard Friday in Decatur, and he just had a big smile on his face, and I was able to grab just a few moments with State Representative Dan Calkins, and here's some of what he had to say.
Well, today Judge Forbes issued us a ruling on my lawsuit, on our lawsuit. Perry Lewin and I and members of the Legal Gun Owners of Macon County, our association. And the judge granted all of us a temporary restraining order against this unconstitutional gun grab law. Well, this is a temporary restraining order. We have to go through the process to get a permanent order. But this is the first step. It's a big step. And we look forward to our day in court, which, we hope will be very, very soon. Well, that was our ask, is that the judge give a statewide TRO. This is the third TRO that's been granted. We now have a patchwork of TROs and 2,000 or 3,000 people that are covered by the TRO. Not fair to all the rest of the citizens. However, the judge took that under advisement, decided it wasn't in his purview. So he did what he could do for us, and we'll march on and get the permanent TRO as best we can. Well, it's really a pretty simple. This law singles out certain classes of people for Second Amendment rights, and it excludes others. The right to purchase, the right to exchange, the sell, the right to hold magazines. Certain members of society, be it police, retired police, whatnot, were granted those rights, and the rest of us were denied. It's a great day. We're very pleased, and we look forward to continuing the legal battle for every FOID card holder in Illinois until we can get the FOID card thrown out. That's our next goal.
Again, that was State Representative Dan Calkins yesterday, literally an hour after the temporary restraining order was issued in Macon County. Now, what's interesting is the Macon County case, we'll actually talk with Jerry Stocks later on in the 7 o'clock hour. He's the attorney that argued that case in front of the Macon County judge. He'll join us to talk a little bit more about this. But one of the arguments wasn't just about the equal protections. It was also about special legislation, and the judge did uphold that charge as part of this TRO from my reading of the TRO that was issued. So we'll hear more about that argument. But listen, this is just a state level case, right? These are just state level cases that have argued procedural issues of whether or not the bill passed properly with 3 readings or single subject. That's apparently not something the state level courts are willing to take up yet. But the equal protections argument very much is. It's completely separate from the Second Amendment and Fifth Amendment and other 14th Amendment arguments that are being made in federal court, which, of course, those cases expected to start playing out in the weeks ahead. But again, less than a month, we've had this gun ban in place. You've got October 1st being the opening of the window for registration for grandfathered assault weapons. And then the deadline to apply is January 1st to tell state police that you have one of these or multiple of these banned weapons, which a lot of people are saying violates the Fifth Amendment right to not incriminate yourself. So, again, a lot of different things moving here. We'll do what we can to make sense of it all for you on Bishop On Air with Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop, and now let's take